model that we just looked at, and I like this one for several of the structures, so let's set that down. And then just showing some distinctions between the other two female models that we have here. There is this one that if you look at it, it actually shows on the side some of those erectile tissues that we saw homologous in males, we're going to see in females. And this one, if you take it apart, it shows just anterior to that pubic symphysis that's here, that patch of adipose tissue that we call the mons pubis. So these models have a mons pubis there. They also show some of that erectile tissue. Same thing with this model. I like it because it shows right there, there's that homologous structure to the vulvourethral glands in males. Here's that homologous structure to the corpus spongiosum in males. There's the homologous structure to the corpora cavernosa in males. It's going to each get a different name. And we can also see that mons pubis on this model. But
what are the names for those things for females?
So clitoris, right. This would be the vestibular bulb, and this is the greater vestibular gland. But on this model right here, just to kind of show it, you can see the labia majora, and inside there you can see the labia minora, but they have removed all of that adipose tissue just anterior to that pubic bone, so there is no mons pubis on this model. It's good for a lot of those ligaments and stuff, so each model kind of has its ups and downs. Let's just grab this one that I've got in front of me. And when I kind of rotate this thing around, we'll start with the ovaries on this list. So when I'm kind of flipping this thing around, you can see what look like wings on either side of there. Those wings are the broad ligaments. And we mentioned those broad ligaments are going to house a lot of those other structures and just kind of keep them close together. So if we look within kind of the insides of these wings here on the broad ligament, you can see there's an ovary, kind of a yellow oval shaped structure. You can see attached to that ovary there is, it's got a number 49 on this model, that's the ovarian ligament. Runs between the ovary and the uterus there. So we can see ovarian ligament, we can see the uterus, and we can see the ovary. And we can see the broad ligament.
What's the red thing?
This one? Which red thing? This one or the tube? So this tube right here that connects the uterus to the ovary, this is the oviduct or the fallopian tube or the uterine tube. And as it makes its way to the ovary, you can see it kind of expand out to a funnel-shaped area. That's the infundibulum. And then that infundibulum has those tiny little finger-like projections that angle down there. They kind of look like feathers. They're called fimbriae. So we talked about this uterus, and look at how there is this round ligament here that attaches the uterus to the anterior part of that abdominal wall. So literally right there is that round ligament. And males, this would have made up part of the spermatocord and the vas deferens. Not something females have to deal with, so that same little tube of connective tissue has become the round ligament that attaches the uterus to the abdominal wall. So we can see broad ligament, we can see round ligament, and we can see ovarian ligament right there that connects the ovary to the uterus. Thinking about that uterus itself, this little muscular pouch, we should be able to see, let me just open this one up. From the side view there, you can see ovary back there, we can see the fimbriae, there's this funnel-shaped infundibulum, which is part of this fallopian tube. So if we kind of look back here on this model, number 16 there would be the ovarian ligament. It connects the ovary to the uterus. We can see this uterus here, and number 17 would be the round ligament. It goes from the wall of the abdomen to the uterus. So now thinking about this uterus, we've got the back part of the uterus, which we're going to call the fundus. You've got the entire body of the uterus. And if you look at the anterior part of the uterus, that little finger-like projection that sticks into the back of that vaginal canal is going to be the cervix. And on this model, if you look closely, they're labeling that number 13 right there. Actually, I'm not sure what they mean by 13 or 12. But one of those is going to be the opening into the uterus, and that's going to be this external cervical os. That leads into this little cervical canal. You see the little rugae there, the ridges, that's the cervical canal. And once you go through that cervical canal, the only way to leave that cervical canal and end up in the actual uterus itself is the internal cervical os. So you've got this little cervical canal right there. There's an external and an internal cervical os. And as we make our way away from the cervix, we're now down into this little muscular sleeve here, the vaginal canal. And if we go all the way to the back of that vaginal canal, you can see there is an anterior fornix and then a posterior fornix. And those ridges along the walls of the vaginal canal are the rugae. Looking at the vulva, the outside portion here, we can see there is the mons pubis, that patch of adipose tissue anterior to the pubic symphysis. We can see the labia majora here, which is number 4, and then the labia minora, which is number 5. And then if you follow that labia minora along the anterior seam, you run into the clitoris, which is number 6 on this model. Not shown very well, but if I put this back on here, there we go. Now you can kind of see that clitoris there, and it should be hooded by a prepuce, a little layer of tissue that kind of protects that clitoris. I don't know that we have a good model that shows prepuce on here.